Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm so excited to share a brand new scene card with you using Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. I was inspired to create this. My son actually needs some thank you cards for football for people who sponsored him. And so this is for my parents, his grandparents, and we thought it would be fun. I kind of showed him my plan prior to actually creating it, and he thought it was fun. So he was being a good sport about it, so I decided to go ahead and go with this. We are completely mixing and matching supplies from many different sets. So what I'm going to start with is using some Post-it tape to mask off part of a 4 by 5 1/4 inch panel. This is to stencil and create our background. I'm grabbing my stadium bleachers here. This is from the Lawn Fawn's most recent release to kind of gauge where it's going to go. And I'm going to use the Clouds stencil from Lawn Fawn, as well as some Marine Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated ink to create our cloudy background. Basically what I want to do here is create the sky and then kind of like the track in front of the football field and the football field. I have laid out over to the side, you can see them over on the right side of the screen, the stamp images I'm going to use with this design. So I want to have like stadium bleachers with the newest mice image. There's a bunch of Simply Celebrate critters. And in that stamp set, there's cats, dogs, mice, birds, and bunnies, as well as the speech bubbles. And I want to fill the bleachers with the mice. And I picked the mice because they're small and there were enough of them to work in a configuration where I could make it look like a football team. So it's kind of a fun, cutesy take on that. And I thought it would be really I just thought it would be fun. I love Lawn Fawn, don't you guys? So above that, I did use a little bit of the Fawn Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated ink. I'm not loving that, so we will revisit that in a second. And I'm going to use Field and Fairway for the football field. And I am ink blending on a stencil mat from Waffle Flower, my well-loved and well-used stencil mat. And I am using the Simon Says Stamp blending brushes. And I have sped this up quite a bit. I was being a kind of slow crafter the day I created this. I went in with Fairway first, and then from the Post-it tape down, I'm going to blend the field color into Fairway. And I honestly think I maybe should have used the largest, like the standard size blending brush instead of the small one, but it worked. It'll be fine. Then I'm going to kind of take my Post-it tape off, and I'm not loving, like I said, the ground. So I'm going to lay my bleachers here and take another look at this. What can I do to fix that? So I'm going to just actually take my Post-it tape back up and kind of maybe about 1/4 inch or so. I am going to ink that to make it a little bit more of a harsher line instead of kind of that very faded look. And that looks much better to me. Next, we're going to take the stadium bleachers and we are going to color them in with Copic markers. You could also die cut these from some colored cardstock if you want to, whatever you like to do there. For me, it's just generally easier to die cut from white and add color with inks, Copic markers, whatever the case may be. I wanted to lay out all the stamps so you could really get an idea of how I plan a scene card. That's something I do get asked quite a lot. I find it easiest to lay all the components out and go from there. That way you have a really good idea of what is going to fit before you ever stamp anything. I'm taking some Copic markers. All the Copic markers I'm using today are listed in the description down below the video, and they are listed over on my blog as well. Love These cool gray markers I thought kind of gave more of that stadium bleacher vibe. And then there should be 3 of these. I see I only have 2 of them to begin with, but we will grab the 3rd one. Darker on the edges and then just kind of blending it all out. And then this piece layers on. You can glue it directly on, but I'm going to pop mine up with foam adhesive to give my bleachers a tad bit more dimension. We'll use some skinny foam adhesive strips to do this. And there's our bleachers. Next, I drew some lines with a white pen. I'm not super happy with how they turned out, but it's not the worst thing ever. I always like to be completely upfront. I think it's my white pen. I really need a new white pen. If this worked a little bit better, the lines would have been fine. I know I've heard from a lot of you that you prefer the Sakura ones, which I also have used. And I also have, and all of my white pens do this. It feels like when they're brand new, they're awesome, and then they very quickly turn not so great. I'm not sure what that is, but it totally ends up being fine. Honestly, I didn't mind it as much as I thought I was going to. I briefly considered just redoing the entire background, but I think once we get our critters all over this, it's not going to matter a whole lot. And I did find that that was the case. As always, I know I mentioned this quite a lot, that many things can be fixed. Now, I was using my Lawn Fawn glue, and I've never used this glue before, and I totally made the biggest glue mess. Maybe I should have called this video what not to do. I don't know. But I love the Lawn Fawn glue, so I use that to glue my bleachers down. And then I have some smooth white cardstock and all of the images that I think I'm going to use for my card. Now, am I going to need to stamp a couple more things? Yes, I am. That often happens with a scene card, and it's going to be no different here. Once I get the initial images onto the card, it really kind of opens up and shows where some holes might be, or where maybe you could include something else to kind of round out the scene. And that will be the case here. But I did start with the line of mice from Simply Celebrate Critters and also the Thought Bubbles. Then we have 2 mice from Bubbles of Joy, 2 mice from You Autumn Know. And then we're going to fill in, and the football, pardon me, from All Star. And we are going to fill in greetings from Simply Celebrate Christmas Critter, Simply Celebrate Critters add-on, not Christmas, you guys. Wow. So I'm using things like thank you so much, many thanks, so grateful for you, and you are so mice. There are all kinds of greetings. They are going to coordinate back to those borders from Simply Celebrate Critters. So that have, again, cats, dogs, mice, birds, and bunnies. So the sentiments all really work back to that. However, I did add, instead of another greeting, in the Thought Bubbles, I took the number 1 from All Star and I stamped that with lobster ink in one of the Thought Bubbles. I really love that the Thought Bubbles are a border. I think this is so super cute. It's really quick to do it this way, and definitely check all of your Lawn Fawn stamp sets. There are so many that have little phrases like this, and you can mix and match. As always, my favorite thing about Lawn Fawn is the fact that it is so easy to mix and match from previous releases, just like I'm doing here. Several of the products are newer, but several of the products have been out for a while. Next, I'm going to take Copic markers and color in all my images. Lots of neutrals going on here. I did do the football a completely different color than any of the neutrals that I'm going to use for my mice. Everything I'm using will be listed down below. broken down by color combination. So if you're interested in any of those color combinations, you can find that there. I did add a little texture to the football with my darker marker. That's E, 55, and 57. Then we're going to start with our mice. And I'm going to do one of the independent mice, or the single mice, with the border. So I'm going to just kind of try to make sure I'm hitting a couple of one of those color combinations, pardon me, in both places, to make it go a little quicker, because we have a lot of mice to color, but they do color up quick. This is E81, 84, and 87. We'll also use our 00 for the insides of the ears and the pink on the cheeks. If your pink is ever too dark, I love taking my lightest color and then just kind of going over it. In this case, E81 dulls the pink just a little bit. Then we're going to use warm gray 1. Let's go ahead and add that first. Then warm gray 5. And I definitely like starting on the lower end, the lighter end of the spectrum, and working my way to slightly darker. Because I wasn't super happy with how this was coming out. So you'll notice I spend quite a bit of time working on these guys. And I'll even come back to it here in a little bit. Let's just let it sit for a second. I'm working on another color combo. We have a little E23 here. So this is going to be a little bit brighter brown. We'll do a little E81 for the stomach with R00, E29, and then E25. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely adore all of the mice. From Lawn Fawn. I do not love mice. I know I've mentioned this many, many times, but for whatever reason, I love using them on cards. And then finally, we have E40, 43, and 44 with R00. I felt like the thought bubbles are just a little too light. I want them to be white, but I feel like we can add a little shading. And just clearly being lazy, I didn't go get a different color marker. Don't really need to. E40 is what I chose to use here, and I'm going to use it to just shade kind of the edges of the thought bubble, which I'll show you here in a minute. And I like that little touch of shading. It's not overwhelming. You could color them in if you wanted to. It's completely up to you, or even stamp it on a colored cardstock. Oh, and I did have to add one more mouse with E81, 84, and 87 is what I picked, which is something I've already used, but I had one more left. Here's that E40 around the thought bubbles. And I'm not going to completely trace it, just adding a little shading here and there, and then using the colorless blender to soften that line just a tad. I'm going to use the coordinating dies for all of those stamp sets to die cut my images. And you can kind of see the football scene coming together now. I think it's so fun. So the mouse completely over on the left is from the Dandelion set. That is from no, I'm so sorry. It's from Bubbles of Joy. Pardon me. I thought it could be like he's catching the football. And then the mouse tackling is from Bubbles of Joy, and the mouse falling down is from You Autumn Know, and then the mouse jumping up and down also from You Autumn Know. I am going to pop up all of my die cut images with foam adhesive now. Remember, parts of the bleachers are popped up, and so I feel like we want to pop up our scene down on the football field. And once I get this, I will tell you, I went through every single Lawn Fawn stamp set I have, looking to see, do I want to add more mice? I really felt like something is missing from my football scene, and I just could not, put my finger on it. I really couldn't. And I'm trying to think, I had literally pulled several stamp sets thinking maybe I'll just add another mouse, or, I couldn't figure it out. I was trying anything, trying to think, what do I want to add? What do I want to add? And ultimately, I came up that I think we need a referee on the field, and I think it would be funny if the referee was a cat. So that's what we're going to do here in a minute. First, from All-Star, I'm going to stamp "You're an All-Star." I think that kind of goes nicely with all the thank you greetings. And we're going to stamp that right at the top of the panel. And then we will pop up all of our sentiments with foam adhesive. I'm going to use the foam adhesive squares right here on the back. Foam adhesive square everything is my philosophy. And then for the line of critters sitting in the bleachers, we really don't need to pop them up because they're going to overlap a lot of the things that are already popped up. So I'm just going to put a little liquid glue on the back of this. I'm also going to squirt out way too much liquid glue. I was having some issues, but I fixed it. And then we're just going to glue that down. Oh my goodness, it is so cute. And I got glue on my card, but I fixed it. I was a mess. I was a hot mess the day I did this. I'm going to take a black Jelly Roll pen and add detail to the eyes, any of the eyes that are like a little dot. This makes the face pop. And then on a scrap of smooth white cardstock, we are going to take a banner. And the banner is from the Tiny Sports Friends, which also are super cute with the bleachers and all the sports things, but they're tiny. But the little pennant banner that says "Go," we're going to stamp 3 times. And our cat is from Perfectly Wicked. And I thought it was cute, but obviously he needs his little black and white referee shirt. So I am going to draw that in with a black pen and then color it in black and white stripe and then color the cat. I think the cat is going to be the perfect addition to my little football scene. It kind of made me laugh. So we are going to be adding that. And then also from the Tiny Sports Friends are like these little lines that give action lines. And I am going to stamp those right on the background with some black ink to kind of give the football a little more movement so it isn't just laying there on the card. And I like that. I think that looks great. All right, let's move our stamps out of the way, or our background out of the way, pardon me. And I'm also going to grab the little foam fingers. There's 2 different sizes that come with the stadium seating, as well as the little pennant. I was going to use the pennant and then I opted to use the smaller one instead, the stamped one instead of the die cut one. And then I'm going to draw in, this is not really the black pen I wanted to use. I have one that's for Copic Markers, but it was dried out. So I used this one. I would say that if you do the same thing, be really careful because it could cause it to bleed. I'm just really not going to oversaturate my image at all when I color it in. And I'm just drawing in a little shirt and then some lines to follow. It's not perfect, but I do think it works good enough so that when you see the card, you can definitely tell it's supposed to be his little black and white referee shirt. I had a lot of fun with this one. And then for my banners or pennants, I'm going to do blue, red, and orange. And then for the foam fingers, we're going to do yellow. This is going to add a pop of color to our card because it is fairly neutral. and there's like big blocks of color, like the clouds in the sky with blue and the green of the football field. So I felt like we definitely needed to add some sort of pop of color and interest into this, and that's what we're going to do with that. I picked a completely different color combination, E11, 15, and 18 for the cat, and then kind of drawing in some little stripes to give our cat some fun fur. And I love it. I think he turned out so cute. I'm going to fix a little line with my black pen and then color in our pennants. The stick that they are on, I'm going to use E55 and 57. And super quick coloring here. The fingers were probably the hardest just because they're little and die cut and having to hold on to them while they kept trying to move. But they ended up really cute. I like how bright and happy they are. And then we're going to die cut these, and we're going to put it all together and add the finishing touches. We're going to just tape our dies down. Can you believe I've had Perfectly Wicked for a year and it appears I've never used the dies? You guys, how is that even possible? So I'm going to pop up the cat kind of in the lower right corner. I feel like that's a big hole, and he fits perfectly there. He's down on the field. So much fun. We're going to glue some little gold star confetti around the top of the card, and then add in our foam fingers and our little pennants for our fun little football crowd. Imagine doing this in any colors for whatever your favorite team is. Now, I kind of went generic. I did not do like just my son's school colors. It was more of a generic football, but I think you could completely go all in with your school colors. If you need thank you cards or just a good luck card for your sports player, no matter what sport it is, there's lots of different ones there. I think that you could create all kinds of super fun scenes with your Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. I'm going to put this panel on a white top fold card base, and we're all finished. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this Lawn Fawn football scene card featuring stamps and dies and stencils from Lawn Fawn. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring Lawn Fawn that you might be interested in. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my Patreon members. If you would like to become a member of Patreon, please click the link in the description box below the video here on YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, click the like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.